And we are back. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us tonight on the Doing All Right podcast. Y'all be sure, please. Y'all need to be following Brian Broaddus on Twitter. And I know he just ran a lot of y'all away. I get it. But a lot of developments are coming in. And if you want those Crown Global Media updates, you need to be following Brian Broaddus. I mean, he tell me and then I'll put something out. But if you want it first, please go tap in with him. And one more housekeeping thing. I will be in Oxnard July 21st through the 29th. I think Brian will be there a little longer than me. But if you want to tap in with either one of us.
Through the second right now, unless Derek Eagleton and the Cowboys want to keep me around for another 6 days. So if they do, I'll stay on. But if not, I'll be back. But I'm looking forward to being out there with you, Voch. It should be a lot of fun getting to know this football team like we need to.
Man, Brian Broaddus, boy, I put my messy glasses on today, Brian.
Oh.
I put my messy glasses on today. I did a live stream earlier, Brian, and, I love the locker room availability. Sometimes we get good questions. Sometimes we don't, Brian. That's all right, man. Don't worry about it. It's all right. Mm-hmm. But I got a couple quotes from Dak Prescott and George Pickens that I thought were interesting. And the audience that watched me go live, like they've heard me kind of talk about this a little bit. I want your reaction to the audio clip that I play. And then we'll kind of go back and forth on it a little bit, Brian. And then once I give you my thoughts, just tell me if I'm tripping or not, because my messy glasses are on, Brian Broaddus. And I like to find little small nuggets here. And I think George Pickens gave us a lot. I don't know if he, we know that he's not the most media trained in the world, but I do think that he let a couple things slip a little bit, Brian. I'll give you an example. How about this clip? Brian, what you think George Pickens was saying when he was saying this?
Leader of this group.
Just like I said last time,
This is George Pickens talking about Dak Prescott. Brian, what you think he meant when he said this?
Leader of this group.
Just like I said last time, he's controlling like everything. All the stuff, all the plays are kind of based on him as well. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like when I get to see how he wants to run his stuff, how Shotty's calling it, you know what I mean? It's just everything's connecting slowly but surely. Yeah.
Brian, did you get anything interesting out that clip? And then I'll tell you what I thought.
Yeah, I think that what George Pickens is, and very astutely has come in and realized that there are a lot of things that Brian Schottenheimer is going to absolutely set up in order to try and get the very best out of Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
That's what I think he's going to do. I think that the reason that Brian Schottenheimer got this job was because he was able to convince Jerry and Stephen Jones that he in fact can do or could do what Mike McCarthy wasn't capable of doing all these years. Now, Dak got banged up a couple of times from McCarthy. They had really a good season, if I remember, with Dak finishing with some really, really good numbers, second in MVP voting and all that. I think that Schottenheimer is going to try and rekindle that type of campaign for Dak Prescott. I think that George Pickens understands that, okay, I'm going to get a rhythm of how Shotty's going to call the games, but this is going to be about I need to be on the same page with Dak Prescott, because this thing is clearly going to be set up to try and get the absolute very best out of him. And I think that's what he's saying.
Brian, do you think that Dak and Mike McCarthy weren't on the same page at any point?
I'm not going to say any point, and I didn't mean to just quickly interrupt you that way.
Last season, let's say last season when it went terrible. Sure.
But yeah, this is a subject matter that, I don't think they really got along great. I don't. And I think there were some things that Dak Prescott questioned about the offense. I think there were some situations that he was put into. Listen, Dak Prescott, and we talked about it a little last night, I think that, he's in a situation where, he's going to need to find a way to get back to the way that he was playing. Last year was awful, and there were too many times where it seemed like there was some slow starts, with the offense that they had to kind of adjust some things. But I just feel like that Dak probably felt like unnecessarily that he took a lot of the blame for what happened on offense. And I think he held that against Mike McCarthy. And, Mike probably, was like, well, This is how I'm going to call things. I believe Mike McCarthy thought this job, he was going to be able to do this job like he did it in Green Bay. And it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
I would think that's the mistake. Mike thought he could come in here and run this thing like he did in Green Bay and do what he wants and all that stuff like that. Aaron Rodgers, his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to ever play this game. For a while there, he was on a hell of a run. Last couple of years, not so much. But I think that Mike thought he could just do that. And this is where coaches get in trouble, that they don't really totally adapt to how their quarterback's going to play. Yeah. And I think that he put Dak in some bad situations. I think Dak made some mistakes along the way too. There were some things that probably that he shouldn't have done, that he did, and they paid for it at certain points in time during the season. But I think it was really a two-way street here. But I do believe, and I said this morning with Jeff, Trusted Tape. I told Jeff, we were asking about players you trust, positions you trust, and all that. I trust Dak Prescott.
Sure.
I really do. And I think Dak Prescott's going to have a really nice year. Now, but I say that with the caveat of if Brian Schottenheimer tries to do the same thing that Mike McCarthy did,
sure,
then you and I are going to be doing the draft show starting in October.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of just how this is going to roll. I think the quarterback was going to be fine, but I think the head coach got this job because he convinced Jerry and Steven that he could do things that Mike McCarthy. I guarantee you that when he interviewed, he started talking about, well, this is what I would have done differently.
Sure.
Well, this is what I would have done differently. Well, this is what I would have done differently. And hey, is it throwing Mike McCarthy under the bus? You're absolutely right.
Sure.
He was trying to get a job.
Yeah.
And, so with that all being said, I think that Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy being apart now, I think is very good for Dak Prescott.
Brian, we have a very smart audience of film watching Cowboy fans.
Sure do.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it was this rumor going around social, not a rumor, but just a thought going around socials that, you can kind of tell when Dak is kind of in charge of this thing, and you can tell when Mike McCarthy took over, like it changed drastically.
Sure did.
Drastically. Like the whole curls, slants, hitches, and all this kind of stuff. Like you could tell when Mike McCarthy took over. Like the offense was way too up and down. It just didn't have not an opportunity. It didn't have an identity. Like some games we were this fantastic motion team, pre-snap, at snap, whatever. And sometimes we just didn't run it at all. And we knew that Mike McCarthy wasn't the biggest fan of it, just in general, Brian. So hearing GP saying that in context to what we know about Schottenheimer, I think GP kind of gave us a clue there. He was saying, hey, we're going to run this thing through Dak Prescott and we're going to do what he likes to do. So, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was an interesting little tidbit there, Brian.
No, I absolutely is an interesting tidbit, and I think that Pickens is very smart to see where this is all going to go. He's going to have to saddle up to Dak, much like CeeDee Lamb has, but hopefully that he will be in much better. I can't wait to see the days where the ball gets to George Pickens, where he has a chance to finish on the play.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't have to make an incredible contorted circus catch just to get the ball. And this is why I think that and again, this is going to be on Schottenheimer and this is going to be on some new coaches, a couple of college coaches involved, and they're going to have to, maybe there's some new ideas. And this is why I appreciate where Brian Schottenheimer went. He didn't hire friends. He didn't hire people he knew. He hired people that he thought could absolutely help him get this offense to the highest level it could be. But make no bones about this. I do believe that Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott are tied at the hip on this one. If Dak Prescott goes out and has success with this Brian Schottenheimer offense and they start to win games and it's positivity, this thing will go on. But if it turns into, well, Dak's not playing well, they're not getting the offensive production they need, then I could see in a couple of years, 2-3 years, this thing all dissolving, if that's the case. Not saying it's going to happen right now, but I do believe that Dak Prescott and Brian Schottenheimer are tied at the hip. And they really right now need each other. They really, really do. So if it works, we continue on. If it doesn't work, then we'll be talking about something completely different here in 3 years with probably a new head coach and then probably a new quarterback.
Man, Brian, somebody asked Dak Prescott about improvements.
Yeah.
That y'all made on offense. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I heard him say something about a little situation. I just want to get thoughts on it, Brian Bros. This is somebody asking Dak Prescott about improvements that have been made on the whole team this offseason. That's what Dak Prescott said, Brian.
It starts with personnel. The changes we've made, and not just offense, but defense as well. Bringing in people, I mean, obviously what George adds really opens up all those other receivers, right? Some of the guys we're looking for, who's going to be the two. I mean, I think it just gives them a little safety net in the sense to go earn and just to go play free and go make a huge jump. Guys like Mingo and Tolbert and, the way the backs.
Now, Brian, here's my theory on what Dak Prescott just said. And tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I could play it again if you want to. It ain't no problem.
No, I'm good.
I think Dak Prescott is so excited about George Pickens.
I do too.
But he has to politic his way into not poo-pooing on the previous guys there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How I looked at it. Dak
is one of the best politicians I've seen at quarterback in a long time.
How I look at it, Broaddus, right? I could be excited about Tyler Booker, right? But if I'm a great teammate, I can't be so excited that I'm like, oh man, we were looking terrible at right guard, but we got Booker here, because that'll make you look bad to Hoffman, right? So when I heard Dak Prescott say, oh man, Pickens comes in and that kind of opens other guys up and it gives them an opportunity and this safety net to go out and make a play and da-da-da. I call BS on that, Brian Broaddus. I think Dak Prescott has a lot of love and admiration for Jalen Tolbert, and I think some of that has grown from Mingo. But I think Dak knows that wide receiver 2 was a disaster.
Absolutely.
And I think he knows that George Pickens changed it drastically.
Personnel.
And
He's absolutely right.
And sometimes the guys that you love got to get bumped down the roster. And I feel like he said a safety net for other guys to make a play. I felt like he said that to not hype up Pickens so much that he poo-pooing on Jalen Tolbert publicly. When in real life, Dak knows that Jalen Tolbert and them are in grave danger because Pickens is here. Go ahead, please.
Well, and he also has to be very careful about CeeDee Lamb. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. You don't want to see a thing where all of a sudden got like George Pickens is also here. CeeDee Lamb is also now in a situation where he's going, wait a minute, I just heard what he said. He's absolutely excited about having George Pickens. He's excited he has CeeDee Lamb to throw the ball to. I think he's very excited now he doesn't have to worry about his second receiver. He doesn't have to worry about Tolbert and Mingo and all those other guys, or Brandon Cooks or anybody else that Michael Gallup, anybody else that they ran out there. This is the best second receiver that he's thrown to. And there might be some points in time in this football game where the second receiver looks better than the first receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is a competition now in a way for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is in a competition, and I mean this in a positive way. I don't mean this in like, CeeDee Lamb is going to watch George Pickens make plays.
Yeah.
And it's going to motivate him to do the same damn thing, continue to make plays. And you're going to see them both go that way. They honestly, whoever out of Mingo, Tolbert, Brooks, Flournoy, just name whoever.
Yeah.
As long as they get something out of Ferguson, and as long as they might get something maybe out of Turpin.
Yeah.
But if it's Pickens, if it's Lamb, Ferguson, Tolbert, or Turpin, then that's really kind of all they need. It'd be nice if everybody will step up. But you and I, if we have been doing this show for 4 or 5 years, we'll talk about how every year we talk about Tolbert. We talk about, we're always talking about somebody that needs to step up. Dak is in a situation now where he's got a dude that he can throw the ball out there and it's going to get caught. And he doesn't have to worry about it. And it could be a pass where he's off balance or whatever. He could throw a ball out there and he knows that George Pickens will go get it. And that's going to make CeeDee Lamb a better player too, because CeeDee Lamb is going to have to sit there and think, okay, I've got to make plays too. George Pickens in a contract year is a big, big, big get for the Cowboys because he is going to try and elevate his game to make more money. There's no question about that. But the rest of those guys, yeah, it'd be really nice if Mingo steps up. It'd be really nice if, if Turpin decides that, the guy who had promised 3-4 years ago steps up, or how about be more consistent?
Sure.
How about be a guy that like you look great one week and then the next 3 weeks you're not much of a factor.
Yeah.
I do think that Dak is excited. I think he's excited for Pickens, especially. I think he's also happy for CeeDee Lamb as well. But he has to be careful. He has to be careful how he catches himself talking about, personnel. Personnel makes a big difference here.
You are really good at this, Brian Bros. We are killing this to say we're doing this on the fly, Brian Bros. This is fantastic here, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's to me, Dak is one of the best political quarterbacks, and I say this because I remember one time we interviewed Dak, and he probably will never talk to us again on 105.3 The Fan after some of the stupid things we did. But the thing that when we interviewed Dak, and I remember Eric Chiafalo asked him a question, or it might have been Wolchuk. One of them asked a question, goes, "Hey, quarterback speak. If I make up a fictional team, tell me about Team X."
Yeah.
And then he asked the question. Dak goes, "Well, Team X is really, really good in the front seven.
Yeah.
They got linebackers that can really cover. Dak knows how to deal with us.
Sure.
He knows how to deal with us." But there, you kind of caught a little bit of his excitement about it.
Yeah.
Usually he's very, usually he's a very team. But this one, you could detect a little bit of excitement about the personnel that he has now to work with. He knows it. His ass is on the line too. He knows that. And so that's where I think that I think you're going to have a lot of motivated players playing this year because of things that have happened in the past year.
If I got this numbered correctly, Brian, I'm going to play a clip and follow it up with another one.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you what this means in the grand scheme of things here. And we can go right back to Dak politicking.
Yeah, he's good at it. And I mean that in a positive way. I'm not saying Dak's Dak. I'm not trying to demean Dak. I think he does a great job of telling us really what we need to know.
Dak got a master's in leadership and he knows how to use it. We'll say it like
he knows
that.
exactly how to tell us anything that we need to know. And it's very rare that you catch him this excited about something because he broke character a little bit.
Now, Brian, they asked George Pickens about Schottenheimer's offense. George Pickens, he just got here. He trying to learn everything on the fly.
Right.
They asked him about Schotty's offense, Brian Broaddus, in cut number 10 there. George Pickens said this, Brian Broaddus, and we'll just listen to this and see what he say. He said this.
Just, a lot of motions, a lot of things that you get an indicator on what the defense is doing before you say height. And a lot of, some coaches don't do that. Yeah.
I ain't saying that he's poo-pooing on his old coach for not running motion, but you know what I'm saying? He said, hey, we're going to run a gang of motion here, right? Now, Brian, let me follow that up with Dak Prescott talking about motion. Now, Brian, I don't really think it's a coincidence when a whole bunch of people start talking about the same thing at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's Dak Prescott kind of talking about motion a little bit and how him and Shottenheimer going to be using it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we haven't done before. It's just about being the matter of when we utilize it, how we utilize it. It always depends on the defense. It depends on whether they're changing up, whether they change their calls on the motion and things like that. So it's just about us doing it at the right time, tagging the right time. But more important than me, the receivers. And you can see how dialed in they are to it, giving communications of what they're seeing as they're in motion. It's great for all of us seeing pre-snap open some things up.
Brian, do you think that this team wanted to do a lot more pre-snap motion than Mike McCarthy wanted to do?
Yeah, the quarterback, the head coach didn't want to do it. The head coach was married to his system.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to change. Kellen Moore came in here and did things that, and he tried his best to adapt to Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is my age. Mike McCarthy does not want to learn anything new.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy is cool with the terminology. He's cool with the plays. He's cool with how they're called. You know, he couldn't. You know, he let Kellen Moore do what he needed to do, and Kellen had some good success. Kellen had some good success doing some things here. You know, but McCarthy didn't want to adapt. He didn't. He didn't want to learn an offense. He didn't want to try and study what other people, you know, and he always talks about, well, across the hall and you know, all this. And he tries to sell this like he is this schemer, you know, when in reality, he was so set in his ways, it became a detriment. Yeah. Like the players had to go in and tell him, hey, you've got to think about doing this. Oh, okay. You know, it took almost a revolt for them to go to change stuff. Well, you know, play the formation really, really wide. We're going to spread out. We're going to throw slants. We're going to throw the curls, throw the hitches. We're just throw. I mean, Mike McCarthy did not want to carry this thing any further because he didn't want to learn. Yeah. I mean, that's when coaches stop learning. Fire them. If a guy or a gal who is coaching a team stops and says, well, no, my way, my system, we're good. Even the damn good. And this is where we asked Shottenheimer this question. I think it was a couple years ago. It might have been last year. I can't remember. But I asked him about stealing plays. I said the best coordinators steal plays. Right. And he goes, well, I wouldn't call it stealing plays. And I wanted to go, Coach, what do you call it then? How do you try and further what you're doing? They always say, well, it's a copycat league. Well, yeah, that means they're stealing each other's plays. Like I'm watching the Detroit Lions that Ben Johnson's watching a game. He's like, damn, the Bears did this against the Packers and it worked, you know? And don't tell me that people aren't stealing plays from Andy Reid or stealing plays from that guy out in LA, you know? Soon enough, they'll be stealing plays from the guy down in Jacksonville because he's going to do some creative things, I'm sure, you know? But the minute you stop, and this is where, you know, we've seen in one practice I got to see a little bit more condensed formations, you know, a little bit more of the bunch stuff, a little bit more. Yeah, we'll see in training camp if this all, like I remember an OTA practice where they were throwing the ball. We were talking about Deuce Vaughn last night. I remember them throwing the ball in the slot to Deuce Vaughn. I'm like, damn, look, they're going to get Deuce Vaughn involved out in the slot. They're going to get, look, they're getting Turpin involved in the slot. Yeah. We didn't see one of those damn things when we got that regular season. It's like they just went out there and were like, let's see how this looks. Let's, you know, and that's the thing with McCarthy. And yes, do I have a problem with Mike McCarthy? Like not wanting to learn and be and further and try and get Dak Prescott to play at the best and highest level and CeeDee Lamb and everybody else. Yes, I have a problem with that because I hate it when you stop trying to learn. I don't care how old you are. You can't stop learning. You can't stop stealing plays from people. You know, I don't care. Andy Reid's looking at damn high school tapes sometimes getting plays. You know, that's what Andy does. I was with him and John Gruden for all those years in Green Bay. Every week, Andy was stealing plays from somebody. Bob Snelker's screen package from the Minnesota Vikings. He went there in Philadelphia and killed everybody throwing the ball to Bryant Westbrook and those guys on a screen package stuff. Why? He stole it from the Minnesota Vikings with Darian Nelson running the ball and throwing the ball to him. That's if anything this coach can do, please steal plays, develop plays, come up with their own damn ideas. They've got a couple of college coaches on staff. Still, Oregon looked like to me, we're watching a lot of Oregon tape. Woo, wide receiver, ball going down the field. You know, a lot of things going on there. Like I say, bring that old playbook. Let's bring that playbook in. Let's see what we got out of that thing. Oh, wait, got a couple of red zone packages here. It looks pretty good. Please be that guy, Brian Schottenheimer. Please.
I actually feel like Shotty doesn't have to do a whole bunch for this offense to be great. I feel like there were some like small mistakes that Mike McCarthy made, and
small.
It was some big ass mistakes that Mike McCarthy made, Brian Broaddus.
Yeah,
but listen, even
I'm not making this personal. I made the Jason Garrett thing personal.
He don't work here no more. His rent due. I get it.
Yeah, no. I am. Know what? I sat there and watched that thing. I watched an offense just grind to a halt sometimes. You know.
So Brian, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Small mistakes, right? Like you do a gang of motion in week 10, but you forget to do it week 11. I think that's a small mistake, right? Well, I think this is what like big change would be Shotty coming in and revamping a whole offense or something like that. When a small change would be, well, just give the ball to the better running back. That's more so what I mean. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the mistake. I cut you off again. Please.
No, please, man. Please, we talking. Please go ahead, please.
The thing that will worry me about Schottenheimer is that did they hire him? The Joneses hire him because they want Dak to have familiarity with, and not in year 9 or 10 have to change the offense. Yeah. Did they hire him to keep continuity with Dak and not having to learn something new, which I think Dak could absolutely do. Yeah. I think if you said, hey, well, Ben Johnson's going to come here, I think Dak can learn Ben Johnson's offense. I really do. But I hope it's not, well, we hired Shotty because Dak, the base of the offense is going to be what some of the things and the small mistakes. Shotty said, listen, I could correct this. I could correct this. Yep. I could do this. The one advantage, again, that Shotty had was he knew all the F-ups that McCarthy had. Yep. He knew them all. He knew every one of them. He knew every one of those. He probably sat in a meeting when Jerry and Steven and they're asking questions and was listening to the tone of questions that Steven was asking or Jerry was asking, like, well, why did you feel like this was going to work? Why did you feel like this was going to be something that we could take advantage of? And I'm sure Schottenheimer was listening to thinking, man, Jerry and Steven ain't too happy with us right now. Not too happy.
Yeah.
So I just hope. And it's creativity is a great, nice buzzword in football. I'm just talking about theft. I'm talking about going in there and just looking at how Sean McVay does certain packages on third down. I remember watching him coach, and it's a shame that we're probably not going to get a chance to see the Rams scrimmage.
Yeah.
But you get so much out of watching other staffs work on the field.
Yeah.
I was getting something out of Sean McVay and how he was able to kind of manipulate offense, and so the best and the brightest steal from that. Go and try and figure out why certain packages work. Okay, I get it. Your quarterback maybe can't do this, but there are things that you could kind of say, wow, who's the best short yardage offense in the league? Let's study them this week. Who is the best red zone offense this week? Let's study them. Who never gets stopped on fourth down? Well, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. We can't do the tush push, evidently. Even though you do have a quarterback that's got lower body power that could probably push, and now you've got 3 dudes inside that can really get some push. So I just don't want to go into like week 2, week 3, and all of a sudden it's the same. You and I are breaking this down, in our shows, and we, in our telestrate, it's like, well, this looks like the same damn tired offense that Mike McCarthy was running because he didn't want to adapt. He didn't want to learn. He didn't want to push it.
Yeah.
If Schottenheimer does that, if he goes out there and it looks like crap, yeah, you're gonna be lucky to have 2 years with me. You can talk about all the rah, kick him in the knee stuff. We're doing all that crap. But my God, you better take advantage of guys like George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and a new right guard and a quarterback that's healthy.
Man, Brian, I got one more, man.
Sure.
Got one more for you. I felt like
I jumped up on the soapbox there. I mean, and I'm not sorry about it because I don't want to go through another year of them, fiddle farting around with this offense. If they want to help this defense be its best, score points, because you score points, that makes them get to rush the passer. That's the strength. Now we'll see if they can hold up in the secondary, but if you could get somebody home before that ball gets off, that's a great recipe. And the way they were able to do that was score points, so I hope that's the case.
Man, Brian, it seems like when we were asking Mike McCarthy and them last year, and I know we're talking a lot about Mike McCarthy, but hell, Dak talking about what happened last year. I know that when we talk about Mike McCarthy and all that, he never really had a plan to get the run game going. And I feel like the run game
talked about it.
Yeah, he always talked about it, but it was never like a plan to really put it all together. It wasn't really like a structured, you know what I'm saying? No. Man, in cut number 3, Brian, Dak Prescott's talking about this, right? They talking about the play action game. Check them out.
Something I've always loved doing. I think you can go back and numbers are usually pretty good and run action, play action. So, but that's probably any quarterback, right? You got to establish the run first, and when you do that, you get the one-on-ones. We're allowing GP to be one-on-one, CD to be one-on-one, Ferg, and when you can do that, we're going to have the upper hand.
Of course, Schottenheimer want to throw the damn football, but maybe from a run-first standpoint, you know what I mean? Tony Romo got real good when DeMarco Murray was beating the hell out of people, and he was leading the league in rushing, and whenever you fake that way and the other team had to respect DeMarco Murray, the passing game opened up. So maybe you didn't need George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb back in the day. Terrence Williams did just fine because they were so afraid of DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
Man, Brian Broaddus, you think that with this context, how I took it is, maybe they do want to run the football because now they have a reason to. I think Mike McCarthy wanted to run the football just because, or he said he wanted to run the football just because we asked him about it. You know what I mean? Even though we know that he valued the outside receivers, because he'll tell you that Mike McCarthy wanted to throw the football. We know that Schottenheimer says he wants to run the football, but we're hearing from Dak saying, hey, maybe we're going to prioritize play action a little bit much. Does that give you faith that the run game is going to actually get going, hearing Dak say that, or that they're going to make an attempt to get the run game going?
I believe Dak is a 68% passer on play action.
Of course.
I believe that was the numbers. Listen, Mike McCarthy wasn't serious about running the football when he was keeping Ezekiel Elliott bubble wrap during training camp. He wasn't serious about running the football. And maybe Jerry and Steven convinced him that that we're going to sign Ezekiel Elliott and we're going to do that. But Mike McCarthy was not serious about running the football when he decided that Ezekiel Elliott was going to be the primary back. You can't be serious about running the football with Ezekiel Elliott as the primary back. At this point in time, you couldn't. And he kept him under bubble wrap, and then and then all of a sudden it's like, well, with this guy, you really can't do it. And now we got it in the San Francisco game. You've documented this a bunch of times, and all of a sudden, Rico Dowdle gets the mystery 100-degree temperature, and he can't play the game.
Sure.
And that was the end of Ezekiel Elliott after that.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy was never serious about running the football. He never was. Not with Ezekiel Elliott as being the primary back right there at the jump.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't being serious about it. You kidding me? Now, I'd had more respect for Mike McCarthy if he'd come out and said, you know what, I'm playing Ezekiel Elliott because the general manager wants me to play Ezekiel Elliott.
I respect it.
I would have done that. I would have said, you know what? Good for you, sir. Good for you. And then you put it on Jerry. But I have to put some of this on Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Will McClay, bringing Ezekiel Elliott back, letting the draft kind of go through, letting backs go through, We've seen them, we'll see what happens with these, that's been documented about those guys that were selected before running backs. And then all of a sudden these running backs go 4th round and now you're kind of, you're in what you're in. But Mike McCarthy was never serious about running the football.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Brian Schottenheimer's serious about Brian. Brian Schottenheimer's MO will tell you that his dad ran the football and the coach he worked for a long time, Pete Carroll, ran the football, or that was important to him. If that's going to be his DNA and that's going to be his calling card, let's see it. Let's see it. Mike McCarthy was never serious about running the football. He talked about it. He goes, well, Kellen Moore didn't run it, you know. Yeah, they did a good job throwing the ball, though. Kellen Moore moved it around a little bit. We got mad at Kellen Moore a lot, you know, first down, second down runs, stuff like that. Why do that? But to me, we'll see. I think I want to believe because of where Brian Schottenheimer came from, his dad, and the coach he's worked for, that he will run this football and try his best to run this football.
Brian, I tell you what, man, to say we kind of made that segment up on the fly, it turned out all right, didn't it? Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, sir. I just, like I say, I want this thing to work for Dak Prescott. I do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I really do. And I want it to work for the fans. I know there's a lot of fans that listen to this that absolutely despise Dak Prescott. And you have that right. You have that right. And the argument you'll make is it never ends well for you. That's fair. That's fair. I've asked for, give me a new coordinator. You know, I've asked that for Dak. Give me a new coordinator. If you're going to bring him back, give him a new coordinator. You gave him a new coordinator. So let's see how this plays. But I will also admit this. I don't think if this goes badly the first year and then we get in the second year and it goes bad, I think we could be talking about Dak Prescott no longer being here and also Brian Schottenheimer not being here as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on these guys right off the jump to be able to show that they could do things. They've got to do things to protect this defense until they get the cornerback situation squared up like they need it to be health-wise.
Man, Brian's great show, man. Great show. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Those were really, I'm glad you pulled those clips.
Yeah.
Those are good clips.
Yeah.
But, and like I say, I that's what I said, what I believe. And I just hope that I hope that the things that they talk about, I hope aren't just lip service.
Mm-hmm.
You and I will be out there in Oxnard and we'll be able to tell, like, okay, they're serious now about doing this. They're serious, you know, or they're just, it's just Shotty told Jerry and Steven what they wanted to hear and they got a job. Please don't be that one. Please don't be that one.
Don't be that one. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all for tapping in with us tonight. You know, tapping in with us every night means the world to us that y'all are consistently watching us every night, not just watching and leaving and watching and leaving. Thank y'all very much. Of course, this thing is going to ramp up the closer we get to training camp. We know more and more people going to be coming in. So we're going to keep on bringing quality. We're not going to take a break necessarily. Go ahead.
No. And I appreciate that. And like I said, you've always been very kind about the stuff. And like we're making a lot of progress with Crown Global Media, the studio, equipment on the way, a lot of things. We got all our internet stuff. We got all our cameras coming, a lot of things. We got a lot of really, really cool things that we're going to do with our studio, and Voch and I are going to have a really good time bringing that to you. So yeah, we absolutely need you. Voch is going to keep his stuff going, but he's going to come over and help me with Crown Global Media. So I think you can support both platforms, and we'd really appreciate that. We really, really would.
Ladies and gentlemen, VOCHLOMBARDI, and for all updates, please BRYN Broaddus, and we'll catch y'all next time, tomorrow, same time. All right, we love y'all to pieces. Y'all hold it down until next time. All right, Crown.